Okay, thank you, Pablo. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for organizing this fantastic event. I'm a graduate architect, and I work in the Department of Urban Design at Vienna University of Technology. And I bring a lot of images specifically, so I already step into. I have a long relationship to Lviv because of academic cooperation with Lviv Polytechnic since the late 90s. When we talk about affordability of housing, of urban habitat, as I call it, of course we have to talk about costs, but we have to remember that it requires a very complex and transdisciplinary thinking and acting about what is affordability in urban habitat. So I skip into with a few, 4 examples from current urban development projects which are focused on housing, but with mixed use, but specifically on affordable housing, which is the first one in the neighborhood in the Wiesn Süd, a recently one with 310 subsided apartment and some other workshops, ateliers, commercial locals, and so on. A second one in the Sonnenviertel, it is a former brownfield development on a train station, former train station area, which is a smaller size, 92 subsided apartments with a different developer. There is another one in the one of the largest development areas currently in the Seestadt Aspern, which is about 200 subsided apartments. And the fourth one is a so-called Gemeindebau Neu, which consists of 46 subsided apartments. Just to give an overview what when we talk about subsided housing, and I focus the case of Vienna, not the case of Austria, the case of Vienna. So we see that we are providing space for low middle income habitants by public and limited profit actors mainly. And the subsidies, in our case, goes into the object. It does not go into the subject. Yeah? So the goal is to raise the stock of permanent social housing and control them within the market. Yeah? It is also very important to say, I will mainly focus at this presentation about the new build affordable housing, but there is a very important component of affordable housing also, which deals with a renewal program of existing housing already, mainly from the late 19th century. So it is a soft urban renewal program since the 80s, which also has to be considered in this urban renewal process. There are a few things I consider important that we have to know about the urban context. As I mentioned, I come from the urban department, so mainly my perspective is from the urban view. So we have within Austria, we have nearly the double of the size of the population growth in the city of Vienna within the last 8 to 10 years. So this is important to mention. It is a growing society, and we reached by October 23 last year, we reached the 2 million limit, and now we have a little bit more than 2 million inhabitants. And what is on the right bottom side is you see that about more than 100 years ago, we had also 2 million inhabitants. So this reflects also what I mentioned. Urban renewal is also a very important part of housing strategies, including the affordability of housing strategy. And within the last 100 years, more or less, we also have to mention that the municipal government of Vienna is applying a proactive policy to create, to administrate, and to guarantee affordable housing. And of course, within the urban development, if we look the last 100 years back in Vienna, the production of habitat, the production of housing, was a key promoter for the urban development, as we can see in this slide. Some others facts, I don't go into detail because Pablo is very strict with our time frame, as I see. Just put on your attention on the last on the row. We have, in Vienna, we have around 77% of all the 59,000 households are rent situation, so it is a very high. So we are a rent a rental society in Vienna, and this, I would call it, is the fundamental base of the urban culture in our city. Okay, how does it work, or how we can mention some key holders, stakeholders, key actors, and what are the tools to practice and to bring into reality this conceptual approach. I will talk briefly about 5 key actors. You can see here, and the first one and the main, most important one is the so-called Wiener Wohnen, which is the municipal developer of subsidized housing. It is already developing since 1919 municipal housing units. About 65,000 of them were built between 1919 and 1933. And today, Wiener Wohnen administrates and owns about 220,000 units in the city of Vienna, and 100% is rented, is a rent situation. Yeah? So we spoke about the Red Vienna, which is the tradition, which was the historical fundament of this affordable housing acting. And over the 20th century, there were built several apartment buildings, neighborhoods, and the last one was built in 2003. And after 10 years more, in 2015, there was this new foundation of the so-called Gemeindebau Neu, which was a reacting of the municipality as a key actor in the creation of affordable housing. The second key stakeholder for the creation of affordable urban habitat in Vienna are so-called limited profit housing associations. You see them in the back. I just bring some logos of them. So there are a lot of them, about more than 50 of them are acting in Vienna, and over 180 are acting in entire Austria. So they are acting with the goal, with the main goal of the creation of affordable living space to contribute for the common good. So this is a so-called mission statement we could mention, and this means in practice that these housing associations or housing limited profit developers, they are allowed just to make 3.5% annual profit with their acting of housing. If the profit is going above, it has to be invested again in subsidized housing. So we call this contract of generation or intergenerational contract. Also, it's important to mention the funding of this, of the most of these limited profit housing associations. They were in the post-war situations after First World War and after the Second World War. So it was when the need of the creation of low-income housing was very high. The legal relation or the legal basis of the housing of these limited profit housing associations is a federal law called Non-Profit Housing Act from 1979 with several new reforms in then. I forgot to mention that most of the offer of housing is rent, but there are also some formats rent with option of later property and so on. I just bring one example of one of these limited profit housing association. I think I don't go into detail. If you want to go into detail, there are some very important websites of the Austrian Association of Limited Profit Building Associations. On the right-hand side, you see also, Sasha told me recently about the very interesting, very recent study from this year about the possibility of introduce legal frameworks for these housing, limited profit housing associations also to Ukraine. The third stakeholder, which I mentioned now also, is the so-called Wohnfonds Wien, I would translate it Fund for Housing and Urban Renewal. It is state-owned, municipal-owned, limited profit organization founded in '84. And Lviv for Wien is doing land allocation, land management for subsidized urban habitat, for new built one, and also for urban renewal. His function is also to supervise the processes of the production of urban habitat, and it's also the job of the coordination between the different stakeholders, developers, architects, planners, homeowners, municipal departments, and so on. And it is a sort of actor to provide some quality management. So this is some kind of, I don't go into detail, just to mention, we have this production of urban habitat, and we have the urban renewal, where the Wohnfonds is acting, and a very important tool how to manage the quality control, to provide land for development, for affordable habitat, are the so-called developers competitions. It is an important tool also to create transparency, how public funds are invested. It is also a creation, a very important tool for the quality management. This is the concept. You can just see the 4 pillars. 4 pillars means these are the criteria to evaluate presented projects for being developed as affordable habitat. Okay, I have 2 minutes more. Here are the criteria in detail. You see, it's very important, beside of the architecture and the economy, is the ecology and the social sustainability. So all these 4 columns are the base of the criteria to be funded and to be subsidized a project of urban habitat. The 4th stakeholder, which is mainly acting in urban renewal, is the Urban Renewal Association. It was founded in the 74s. There are 6 offices distributed over the city of Vienna, and it is a very direct tool for people who want to change their homes, want to upgrade their homes, to get some legal support, some professional support, some design support, and also some communication and information support for their improvement of their homes. And there are some other stakeholders, which I don't go into detail. There are so-called these Baugruppen, participatory associations, I would translate it. I indicate tomorrow there is a lecture by Markus Zielka from 1:1 Architects, who his office is very involved in these Baugruppen projects for creating affordable housing. And there are some other stakeholders like Caritas, community and neighborhood work, who are also very important to improve the quality of the development of the affordable urban habitat. So this is the fact, what the co-working of these different stakeholders are bringing together. So we have about 44% of all the households of our city. They were built with public subsidies, and they are not subject of the mechanisms of the free housing market. This means in money, what you can see here. So we can also summarize that the rent in a flat, in a building built with subsidies, is about 22, 24, 25 until 29% below the free market. Okay, these sums we have, and I will finish soon. We also have a lot of challenges to do, and still to do a lot of work. Yeah? As I mentioned at the beginning, we have to rethink and to act transdisciplinary. So we also have, by thinking on the creating of affordable housing, we have to think to integrate the housing strategy into urban development concepts, local development concepts. As we can see here, it's very important to program the affordable housing together with the urban landscape, together with public space. Because the house itself, it's not enough. We need all the surrounding to create neighborhood, to create community. So we need to provide much more than just a flat. And this is also very, very important. Some other important topics we have is the rising costs of construction material, the rising costs of land. Yeah? So the rents are also rising. So the affordability is in danger, and we have to work on it. We have also to work on the different market. If you look on the right side, the relation between yellow and gray, the rise of, in Vienna within the last years, the rise of free market houses in relationship to subsidized houses. We have to deal with it, and of course we have to deal with the consumption of land, of energy, and of resources. So these are still a lot of things to do, and the last slide is already that we have, coming back to one of the first slides, we also have to think on creating habitat on the existing stock of housing, retrofit, upgrade, renewal, the existing housing situations. Thank you.